Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Super-Fanta-Fi. This being a show where I talk about TV shows of the supernatural, fantasy, and or science fictional genre. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of Beauty and the Beast. So before I really get started, there's certain things I want to talk pertaining to this episode, but the fact is, it's something I didn't really realize. It's something I was like, oh, that might have been a thing, but I wasn't 100% sure. I know I'm not making sense. Well, I'm about to get to it, sorry. Basically, my understanding was there were three people after Vincent. The person that put the bounty out on him, that wanted to capture him, the person that wanted him dead, and then there's Hills. I think I brought up last episode, like, Hills is the one that hired those guys that shot up the place, you know, when Vincent was all in his kind of, like, fugue state, and he was just basically hallucinating that whole thing about, like, oh, him and Kat never met. That whole situation, I was thinking, like, okay, those guys were sent by Hill, but what I didn't realize is that the second person, the person trying to kill Vincent and Hill were the same person. That the person who sent that first assassin after him, that was Hill. It didn't cross my mind. It's like, ever since he was saved by Vincent and Kat, it opened his eyes and he's like, I have to deal with this situation somehow. So that's why he hired assassins and he hired people to kind of take them out to cover his tracks, because explaining Vincent's death is one thing, especially when if Vincent died, they'd be coming to him for help, Tess, JT, and Kat. So he figured he'd wipe them all out, or at least try to, and distance himself, making him like, oh, I didn't have anything to do with this, but I didn't realize that, yeah, he had to, everything, like I said, from that first assassin to everything that happened since, that was him. So I just never clicked in my mind, but it wasn't until this episode really they put it in focus for me. They were just like, yeah, he's the one that sent the assassins. I'm like, that makes perfect sense, especially when you bring up the fact is that Vincent ended up talking to the group that Hill went to get those assassins. It's like, okay, he hired them from this particular group. But what I really like about this episode is it is a very blatant episode of desperation on everyone's part, particularly Kat and Vincent's part. They are both very desperate, because the fact that Kat's willing to go along with Vincent's plan of like, yo, throw me under the bus, that way you can get close to, DHS Morgan, Agent Morgan, the one that's currently investigating. He's the one leading the investigation on the whole Vincent thing. It's like, get close to him, pretend like you're throwing me under the bus, being like, you didn't know how crazy I was. That way Morgan trusts you, you can get close to him, and you can like look into Hill's files and prove my innocence, which Morgan being willing to allow her to do this, he knows something's a little fishy, but he's willing to give her the benefit of the doubt because she is legitimately trying to prove her husband's innocence, and he sees that. He doesn't know what the big picture is. He doesn't know what it is that everyone's hiding. He knows Kat's got a secret that she's not willing to tell about Vincent, and he knows like Hill has some kind of connection to Vincent, but he doesn't know why an ex-military, special ops person like Vincent would be associated with Hill in the first place, like what that whole thing was. But so he's still in the dark about Beast, but the fact is he's willing to give her a chance to prove his innocence, shows that he is a good guy. Granted, he is willing to bust him if he feels like she's yanking his chain, he's willing to bust her too. But it's kind of understandable why Vincent's not so ready to just like turn himself in to be like, stick around to prove his innocence, because even it was out of self-defense. Hill pushed him to do that, and it's just like, he warned Hill, was like, you don't know what you're doing, and Hill thought it was a situation he could handle. But that was, like I said, last time, that was the first time he ever really saw Vincent, beast out, and it terrified him, and it's not something he can handle. Because he had no idea what Vincent was actually capable of, so like, it's not something someone who's untrained against Beast would be able to handle. But nevertheless, with Hale's betrayal, like, of course he's going to be hesitant to trust DHS. Obviously he's always been kind of reluctant to trust government agencies anyway, because let's not forget, they're the ones that set it up for him and his unit to be wiped out by their commanding officer Fuller, so it kind of makes sense. So. But basically, Kat finds herself in this episode kind of split between two sides, because, she had that conversation with Tess, which Tess had many good points to it. Yes, Tess hasn't always been the biggest fan of Vincent, but she is happy for Kat and Vincent, that they were happy, they were just leading a normal life, that she was leading a normal life, and she's okay with them being together. But the fact of the matter is that it happened again, that they got all dragged into this situation, and that things have gotten even worse now, because it's not like you're just dealing with a bounty hunter, they're also dealing with a government agency after Vincent, and it's like, if Kat's not careful, she's going to be dragged down with him. Basically saying she's not calling Vincent out on a lot of the stuff he's doing. Rather than being like, no, this is kind of a bad idea. She's going along with it because she herself is desperate to get back to that life that they built together. They've been in bad spots before, but this is probably the most desperate situation they've ever found themselves in. Like I said, like they're just stuck between a rock and a hard place, and this is the worst situation they've found themselves in. They even admitted themselves, cats, like things have never been this bad. Things have been bad and we found a way out, but things have never been this bad. And legitimately, she doesn't know, and even Vincent doesn't know, because at the end of the day, they are both terrified because they don't know how this is going to end. They don't know if they're going to be able to prove Vincent's innocence. There was that whole thing with Kat. Basically, she came up with a plan to help Vincent basically prove more of her loyalty towards Morgan. But by saying like she'll turn Vincent in, and basically invited Vincent. Basically, she told Tess and Heather the plan to like, okay, I'm not going to like really turn him in. It was kind of a play. It was kind of a feint, but obviously she didn't have time or an opportunity to warn Vincent, so he went into it, and she was actually scared because she's like, what if Vincent actually doesn't believe me? What if he's like, legitimately thinks I betrayed him? Which I kind of was like, all right, she didn't actually betray him. There's no way she would, but there is a part of her brain that's like, maybe it would be better to get Vincent arrested, because that way, with Morgan on their side, he is willing to give him a chance. So it's like, you just stay in custody long enough for us to prove your innocence. Like, that is a chance. They could have taken that chance, but it's too late now because they've moved forward with everything. Like her, Morgan's seen with his own eyes that, okay, she betrayed him. Like, she did try to bring him in, but he didn't want to come in. So yeah, he's going to be a little more trusting. He's going to let his guard down around her, allowing her to do more, but still it puts her in a very dangerous situation, because if he finds out that she's playing him, he will arrest her. It's not just Vincent's future that's on the line, and it's hers as well. But they're so desperate. It's particularly Vincent is, because he doesn't want to keep doing this, not just for his sake, but for her sake as well. More so than I believe he's doing it more for Kat than he is himself. He doesn't want to live like this anymore, but he doesn't want to put Kat through this too. It's like they legitimately were just on their honeymoon, and they were happy, and they just found themselves in this situation, and it's just they want to get back to that. But what I was bringing up earlier, I kind of got away from it. But the whole test thing, saying like, yeah, trust in the system. It's just like the system has kind of failed. Like I brought it before, system has kind of failed Vincent in the past. He's kind of been betrayed, but not every higher up is going to betray him like that. So he should have taken a chance with them. Because Tess is like, I hope you made the right choice, because I can't help you from here on out. Because it's like, basically, throughout all this time she's been with Vincent, from the first season till now, she's done countless things of covering up evidence, covering up crimes to hide Vincent away. Basically doing very illegal things that as a cop, she is meant to uphold the law, not break the law. So it's like, how far are you willing to go? Like, I get that you love Vincent, but what lines are you willing, up to what point are you going to keep doing this? Where do you draw the line? It's like where you won't protect Vincent anymore, because maybe it's like, would you go as far as killing someone to make sure that Vincent, stays safe? Because you correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm like I said, it's been a while since I've seen some like the earlier seasons, but has Kat ever killed anyone for Vincent? I don't think she has. Like, Vincent's killed people for her, like, he's trying to protect her. Like, he's killed Liam, he killed Gabe. Or was that Kat who killed Gabe? I don't remember. I definitely know it was him who killed Liam last season, so I don't know. I don't think Kat's ever really killed anyone for his sake, but it's like, would she ever cross that line for him? It's like, if the situation came between choosing someone else's life or Vincent's, would she be willing to kill someone just because it's like, yeah, this was all for protecting him? So I think that's kind of what, that wasn't outright brought up, but I get the feeling that's what it was kind of alluding to. And that kind of got her wondering, like, she's like, should I have turned Vincent in or not? That would have probably been the right move. It would have been the best move, but Vincent was adamant about being like, no, we can't do that. He's lost, he's been betrayed once. He's not about to let it happen again, especially when he feels like he can handle it himself. And that's just her side of the situation. We also see his side of it in this episode, his desperation, when he's like, whereas normally Vincent is very on the defense, like he won't attack people unless they attack him or attack someone else. He acts out of defense, not on offense. But in this episode, because I was wondering about it, I was like, he's acting very aggressive and weird in this episode. But I guess that just proved how desperate he is. He's willing to do anything and everything to make sure that he gets the answers he needs. Basically, while Kat is dealing with the whole DHS DHS situation, he's basically trying to find out the person that put the bounty on him, and basically he captured one of the bounty hunters that was associated with that company. That basically it's not only the company that basically helped put the bounty on his head; it's also the ones that armed Hill with people to come after Vincent. And because it was a situation where JT was there and kind of witnessed it firsthand, just how desperate Vincent was. He kind of tortured the guy a little bit. Granted, it didn't go as far as it could have. He could have beasted out to torture the guy, but nevertheless, torture is never the answer, especially in his case, because it's like, JT even brought it up. He's like, he saw Vincent go down a path that he hoped he'd never have to see Vincent go down again. It's like he didn't never ever want to see that side of Vincent again, but he saw it in this, and it's just like, because Vincent was very angry and aggressive this episode, even towards JT. It's not his. Usually he's a little calmer and even joking, but he was dead serious in this episode, and we don't really see that side of Vincent. No matter what the situation is, he does kind of try to keep things lighthearted. That's part of like the show, that even with these desperate situations, they do have lighthearted moments. It's just kind of deprived from them in this episode a little bit to a certain degree in that regard. And I guess that was more so to push the fact of how desperate the situation, that they can't even make light or joke of the situation. Because he was willing to go far to prove, it's like find out who it is that put the bounty on him. But he got the information out of the guy. But I did like the fact of the matter is when he used that truth serum on the guy trying to get the information, the guy was even talking, still kept talking. He was talking to JT. He's like, yeah, I slept with my brother's wife, and then I slept with her sister, both of her sisters. Just going he was so proud of it too. So. Obviously, he had brought up other stuff he had done in the past, but that to me just stuck out the most. I was like, wow, I get it, you're on that true serum, but you're saying it so proudly, yeah, I did it and I got away with it too. It's like, okay, dude. But basically use that guy as a way of being like, yo, I took down one of your top guys, let me in. But basically the guy doesn't trust Vincent, but thanks to Kat and Vincent's plan of basically being like, yo, I got closer to Morgan by telling him I'm gonna come after you. She was actually hoping, she's like, I wasn't able to tell you, Vincent, but I hope that you were able to read the situation. But he was able to. I was thinking, I hope he was able to read the situation, because if not, things would have gotten really bad. Because if that were the case, because I kind of had a feeling she was playing Morgan more so. She wasn't really turning on Vincent. I was like, because she knew there were people outside listening, so I was like, that's too much of a setup. But for her to sit down and have a conversation with Morgan, I was like, wait, is she willing to turn him in? I thought that was her just saying that just to say it, just to kind of change the narrative, kind of make it seem like she's really on their side. I didn't really know. But then that whole thing went down where she was explaining everything to JT and Tess, and I was like, okay, it was a fake out. Obviously, Tess is like, I can't help you anymore on this because, this is continue going down a dirty road, of breaking the law, and, her being a cop as well is kind of like, I can't keep doing this anymore, especially at the level it is now. She's just, she's a city cop, and this is government, business now because of DHS, so it's like, if she interferes, she's going to be bringing herself in on everything as well, so she's trying to keep us far away from it as well. So, but because of what Kat did, it also gave Vincent an opportunity with the guy who's hired him. I mean, the guy he was trying to get hired to, and it's like, now he's one step closer to possibly finding out who put the bounty on him. But now it's not only him and Kat are both deep cover in situations that if they get found out, they're both screwed. If Vincent gets found out, there's a good chance he's going to end up dead, or worse, because I say worse because he could be captured by the person who wants to put the bounty on him, because the guy that he's working for now doesn't know about why Hill wanted him dead or what makes him so special. He just knows that Hill wanted you dead. It's like, why is that? Is it because it's something you had on him, or was it something he had on you? Vincent basically changed the subject, being like, it doesn't really matter now that he's dead. But basically, he's going to be working with that guy. But that guy does a lot of illegal stuff. So it's kind of like, of course, he's going to, because him and Kat are on opposite sides now. So basically, maybe Vincent's going to end up doing some work that's going to get DHS's attention. Not because of him himself participating in the work, but because the work gets DHS's attention. It's just like they're both on opposite sides. She's trying to, she's working it from the lawful side, and he's going to be working it probably most likely from the criminal side, of both hoping to find a solution in all of this. She's trying to find who like proof that Hill was behind everything, that he set Vincent up, that Vincent killed him out of self-defense, and Vincent's looking for the person putting the bounty on his head. I just get the feeling things are not going to work out that way. Like I said, I feel like they are going to cross paths, and it's going to be in a bad way. Like Vincent's was doing what the job most likely is. He probably is going to have to kill people. What he's going to have to do is make sure that any job that he takes, he's going to have to make sure he doesn't beast out, so that he doesn't draw too much attention towards himself and what he's doing, because it's like I said, the moment he's found out, like, he's either dead or a caged animal. So, and with all that happening, there is another sideline to everything. It's the fact is Heather and Kyle. Heather's still keeping Kyle in the dark, but Kyle's like, yo, what's going on? Like, DHS agents were here asking about Vincent, whether I think he's a trustworthy person, whether he's done anything suspicious. Obviously, Heather's keeping him in the dark, but it's tearing her heart apart, because she's torn between keeping her, a secret for the sake of her brother-in-law as well as her sister, but also being honest to the man she's currently falling for, which she most likely is in love with. So basically she tells him the story of like, okay, basically Vincent's undercover, and basically DHS was there trying to vet to see if anyone knew about his undercover, and Kyle's like, okay, thank you for telling me the truth. So it's like she's lied to him. So things can go one of two ways. If things are the way I said they were, like Kyle is not to be trusted, still there, still in the back of my mind, but it kind of wanes, like I brought it up countless times, it keeps waning on my head, like, okay, with each passing episode it goes down a little bit, but I still don't trust the dude. So if he is kind of a bad guy, maybe he's the one to put the bounty on Vincent's head, maybe he's being tipped off, he's like, okay, wait, okay, Vincent working for DHS type of thing. I don't know. Because the person who put the bounty on Vincent's head doesn't know he's the beast. That's why it should have clicked in my head sooner. It's like, oh yeah, Hill was the one that sent the assassins out, because he was the only one that knew Vincent's identity. The person who wants the beast captured, not dead, but captured, doesn't know his identity yet. So that should have clicked in my head. Like, oh yeah, that definitely was Hill's thing. So, but because of that, like, Kyle might be thinking like, okay, maybe he's connected to the group the company/group that Vincent's now working for now. Maybe maybe he's actually one of its members, or maybe he's like a top brass member. You just don't know it. And it's like, hey, we found out that Vincent Keller is actually working for DHS. I learned it from my girlfriend. So that could get him in trouble. Or it could go down the route of being like, hey, Kyle gets kidnapped or whatever, or forced in a situation. Maybe he's kidnapped, or maybe it's just a situation where DHS follows up and is like, whoa, Keller isn't with us. Why do you think he's with us? Like, because Kyle lets it slip, and then he realizes that Heather's lying to him and breaks up with her, plus basically explodes all the secret, like the lies that they've told him and to DHS, and it kind of blows up in her face. Because even Kat was like, yeah, has a big chance of blowing up in our faces. It most likely will blow up in our faces. So things could go that way too. Or like I said, it could, if Kyle is the one that put the bounty on him, maybe he'll like look into Vincent a little more and be like, is he really with DHS? And then kind of like put Vincent in a corner where Vincent has no choice but to reveal that he's a beast. And he's like, I've been looking for you this entire time. Who knew you were right underneath my nose the entire time at the hospital that we were both working at? I don't know. I just think it's a little suspicious. Maybe this series has other plans for him. Maybe they just wanted to give, like, maybe before it all ended, maybe they wanted to make sure that Heather had a happily ever after, that she had a significant other that we got used to seeing around. I don't know. I still feel like he's just using her, and this is going to blow up in her face as well, because I feel like out of anyone, she's going to feel bad. Like, if it ends up being revealed that Kyle is behind a lot of this, if not all of it, it's kind of like, oh crap, I was in love with you, and it's just like you were just using me this entire time. So I don't know. If you're kind of new to this and you're curious of why I'm so adamant about it being Kyle, the fact of the matter is he tried too hard to be with Heather. Yes, like, granted, Heather kept pushing him away, and it's like, oh, you're in love, you're going to keep going, because, I mean, Vincent and Kat kind of had a situation of being pulled away from each other and pushing each other apart, but they eventually found their way back to each other. So it's kind of yes, there's the romantic side of me being like, yeah, it could be that part, but it's the suspicious part of me that's like, he's trying too hard to implant himself in her life, so I'm thinking he's guilty, but maybe I'm 100% wrong. So I don't know. We'll really have to see where everything goes next episode. It's going to be very interesting to see where everything goes from now. Like I said, Kat and Vincent on different sides, trying their best to just solve this problem and find a way out of this. To me, the only way they're going to find a way out of all this, Vincent's going to have to fake his death again and make it a really good death, and then him and Kat just have to disappear. I think that's a very unlikely situation. Or they heal, cure. I don't know why I use the word specifically heal, but cure Vincent of his beast side. That was kind of something that came up before. Obviously, it didn't stick because he needed his powers at the time. But maybe this is a situation. It's like the moment he disappears as a beast, no one's going to want him anymore. So, like I said, but that's, we won't really know until we keep progressing in the series, see what happens next week. But that's really all I want to talk about in this episode. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.